All right, so getting started here in 1 second. Okay. All right, so we're gonna sort of pick up from where we left off earlier in the script, and I wanted to talk about a couple of things too, because there was a couple of issues that I've kind of forgot about earlier when it comes to best practices. So managers have what's called the best practices form. The best practices form is something that I give. I'm not going to go over the whole thing right now, but it's something that I give out and go over. It's sort of the creed that we got to follow in that management role, the team manager role. It's the lead that we have to follow. The lead we have to follow. I just said that it's the creed that we have to follow because it's every experience that I've had in the company dealing with problems and solutions and so on and so forth. Every experience, I'm trying to find it real quick. I'm not gonna go through the whole thing, but there's a couple things I do want to highlight because I think it explains to you why your manager might do certain things. Please, because I don't think I have it in this computer. Thank you. So it's important to understand, why we do some of these things. I'm not going to go through everything, but I mainly want to go through the things that I've seen and been experiencing with you guys. Number one, the biggest thing that we've said, we started doing this. We changed the hours from 12 to 7, and that's fine. I like that. I think that other people like that too because you get out earlier, you start a little bit earlier. It gives you more of a sort of normalized work schedule. It's closer to a 9 to 5 than it is, a nighttime job, right? That's fine. There's a couple things that can be adapted there or changed there. Number one, if production is falling because we are getting more people that are out earlier and we need to knock later, then that's fine. The biggest thing is production. If we can show, like we showed the first couple weeks there, hey, hours don't really matter when it comes to like when we're doing them. Great, fantastic. The other thing that we can do too, the other option that we have is to extend it from 11 to 7. But the biggest thing for me is, my thought process is the way that it always has been is that if you're having a little bit of a tougher day, you set midway through the day, you set a goal to yourself. Hey, we need to be at this, or you stay out for a little bit longer. You definitely don't get back early. There should never be a day where we get back early. Not 1 minute early. There used to be a standard, if you remember this. And again, I'm fine with this not being the standard. I really am. But the standard was, we did from 1 to 8, but we come back at 9 sometimes. I've seen teams get back later than that. Now, I'm not proposing that we do that at all. What I am proposing, though, is that we base our production, our habits off our production. If each person's got 4 leads and, I still would never get back early. Why? Unless we set some sort of predetermined goal or something like that to come back early. Why? Because it's really setting a bad precedent. It really is. It's not doing anything for your numbers. If anything, you're on a roll. That should be when you continue going, but either way, that needs to be something that we understand now, because I'll tell you what, I've been looking into it more and more lately, and I'm not happy with what I've seen. There should never be a day we're back at 6:45. It's completely inappropriate, absolutely insane. It's not just, especially if we had a bad day. Like I don't want to see people come back with 2 leads as a team and come back, 20 minutes early. It doesn't make any sense to do that. With the way the hours work, we should be trying to stick as close to leaving territory near 7 o'clock as possible. Because again, we're going to get a segment of people that are not home. I mean, my neighbors, some of them work from home. But I look at my neighbors, for example, the majority of them get home between 4 and 5 o'clock. The majority of them do. Some of them 3 o'clock, the majority between 4 and 5 o'clock. And then a couple work from home. That's fine. We don't need to get every single person out there. A lot of those people we get on Saturdays, stuff like that, but we have to keep a consistent basis to what we're doing. That should be our goal. That should be what we're trying to obtain. Okay. Other things too. You take off. Okay, cool. Sounds good. Are you going to log on or just watch it after? Either way is fine. Okay. Log on or watch it after. Either way is fine. No problem. Thank you for this too. Um, okay. So the important things here that you need to know, and the reason why you might go, man, why is this person putting pressure on me to go to break here or to leave so quickly to the office and stuff like that? Because the best practices state the goal is to be out of the parking lot within 5 minutes of the meeting being over to ensure maximum knock time each day, especially when we get bigger teams. If you have 5 to 10 people on a team, you're taking 5 or 10 minutes from each of those people. If you're out there smoking cigarettes, hanging out, chatting for 20 minutes, then you're taking 20 minutes from each of those people. That's 200 minutes on a 10-person team. That's an insane amount of knock time. That's enough for someone to get at least 3 or 4 leads as a team. Okay, so it takes away a lot, and again, sets a very bad precedent. This is something that I don't think we do now. I think we play it by ear now, too much. We pre-pick a place for break in the town that we're knocking, either right off the highway or along the route. We don't want to go to a place far away from territory because we risk more time on the road without bathroom breaks. So it's important for us to just go out when we get close to territory, stop somewhere. Now, if we're doing our breaks in the middle of the day, we should not be stopping anywhere at all. There should be no place stopped at before we get out the territory. I don't know where the screw around game became, we're going to go out, we're going to stop somewhere, and then we're going to go out again and stop somewhere again. That's not the way that things should be working. That needs to end instantly. If people need to go to the store before they come to work. Or we can do the breaks in the beginning of shift. That's fine, but then we should be knocking for the remainder of the day. There should not be, again, the next thing down here says is 1/2 hour unpaid break for shift. And our department allows for 2 5-minute breaks to be taken as it sees fit, paid breaks on the road. So you can, to smoke or to whatever you need to do, drink a drink, to eat a snack, whatever you need to do while you're on the road. So that 1/2 hour break should be taking place at one time, because you can't realistically go somewhere, you go somewhere. Let's say I go to a Rudders, and I get to a Rudders and 3 people order food and stuff like that. And then we eat the food or whatever. We even just wait for the food. There's at least 15 minutes gone there, probably closer to a half hour. Then we got to drive out the territory. Enough of the job is driving already. Enough of the job is sitting in a van already. We should want to take advantage of as much time as we possibly can. So we got to get out of that mentality of we're going to stop 3 times for break throughout the day, or 2 times for break throughout the day. You take 15 minutes there, when you might have it in your head, hey, I'm going to take 15 minutes, I'm going to take 15 minutes later on. No, the later on break takes way more than a half hour total, because you're picking people up, okay? And then you're bringing them to a place, and then you're dropping them back off. Now, we don't build that time into that break, but if we're taking 2 breaks, then we're taking more like an hour and a half worth of breaks, or an hour minimum worth of breaks each day. And that's not okay. It's not okay, especially as we're paying people and we're taking on a half hour break for them every day. And again, you want to talk about inefficiency. That's the most inefficient thing that you can do. The most inefficient thing that you can do. If you're doing that, or if you're pressuring a manager to do that, then you're taking away from the entire team. If you got 3, 4, 5, 10 people out there, then think about the amount of time that you're taking. If it's a half hour per person that you're taking extra, then you're taking a half hour per person. Wait till you have 10 people on the team. And that is a killer of time. Right? There's no way to run a team like that effectively. That will highly impact your numbers. And then the other things, unless of an emergency, no one should be picked up within knocking hours, of course, minus that break if we're doing it middle of the day. If they do need to be picked up, and this is something that we got to get better on in management, because I don't get a lot of text messages about this stuff. It seems like every once in a while someone remembers to let me know. If they do need to be picked up for any reason at all within knocking hours, then it should be reported, because, again, it's time taken away from work, from knock times. My entire afternoon from after we get off this meeting till tonight is going to be spent going through knock times for the last week. And I'm going to find all sorts of inconsistencies. I know it. And if I have that text message that says, hey, had to pick up so-and-so because of X, Y, or Z, then I know why that happened. And I know to discount that or to understand why that happened. Again, in addition to that, if you have somebody that's on your team that's continuously having a problem with that for various different reasons, then that will show up too. And then that's how we have a conversation with the person and decide, okay, what's going on here and what do we need to do about it? Okay. All right, that's the important part for you guys to know. Okay. The other important thing to understand too is that starting next week as a part of the initiative to kind of continue this push, this success that we've seen. We're going to be doing exit interviews for trainees, which we hadn't done yet. So I plan on doing that with pretty much everybody starting next week. And I think I have to get through them all in 1 week because the time crunch that I'm under to get that done. Okay. I mean, why are we going through this stuff right now, guys? Because we're adding a significant amount of new people. You haven't seen it yet. You've seen a couple new people so far, but you're about to see 3 new people probably. I project that all 3 of them will be on the road on Monday. And then we're going to have 3 or 4 trainees in right after that too. It will become too much to handle. You know, Andrew's right here. He's done this as well for years now. What, 5 years now, something like that. For 5 years now as well. There's 17 total years of experience there. I can tell you right now, whatever BS is going on right now, if there is any going on right now, will become 10 times as hard when you get more people on the vans, because that 5-minute break that you took, that you used to take, whatever that used to take 5 minutes, is now going to take more time, and it's going to take more time from more people. And what you're going to see is some teams that are not doing that, they're going to start to go up significantly, and you're going to remain the same or even go down. And that's what you want to be careful for. Okay, that's what you want to be careful for. Now, why am I telling you this on a training session or whatever, when that seems like it might be more for managers? No, you're all part of this team. If you're the person that's taking away from the team, then that's something that just needs to be addressed separately. But you have every ability to negatively or positively impact these people as well. I would say this, that a lot of times, and we've seen this prove out with teams in the past, a lot of times the people on the team are more important than the manager on the team when it comes to making people successful, because it's the environment that will drive that success. That's how I feel about it. I'm not the largest determining factor in somebody's success, this company or on this team. I might be the largest portion determining factor because of decision making and stuff like that. But nope, if you were to weigh my effect versus the rest of the team's effect, I don't think it even compares. I don't think it even compares, right? If I have a 10% impact, then you guys might have a 90% impact, but it's just split up amongst more people, right? So you just got to remember that. That's why it's so important for us to be effective as a team together, okay? And that's where we've won in the past. All right, getting onto the training portion. And by the way, too, that means just a couple other things to go through just to make sure that you see the success. That means when you're on break, you might as well be on shift. Act as though you're on shift. The way that you deal with things, the way that you deal with people, places that you go to. Remember that you're representing the company, okay? And remember too, guys, that knocking consistently is important. If you're taking your break, your 5-minute break and stuff like that, I don't think you need a text every time that you need to stop to text somebody or to call somebody or something like that. I mean, unless it's excessive, of course. But if you're taking those 2 5-minute breaks throughout the day, that's fine. Do your thing. When should you text? Well, whenever you're stopping for more than a couple minutes, because we can see it right over all the lead sheets. We can see it. If someone stops 15 minutes before the end of the day, or sends their manager their address and stops, something like that, or gets right out on the road and then stops right away and doesn't start knocking until 15 minutes later, we see all that stuff play out. And then we address it accordingly. Not that it's happening or happening a lot or anything like that, but I just want to throw that out there too, that when it comes to breaks, that's what you're responsible for, is making sure that you're being responsible with how you do your breaks and how you manage your communication with your manager and with myself. Okay. All right, great. Moving on. So last we talked, we were going through the problems with the Windows conversation. We had just gotten through the introduction. We're kind of moving along in the script. Okay. So again, it was like this: knock, knock, knock. And then remember, the person is coming to the door. I see him through the windows and I'm like, how's it going? Very over exaggerated. Woo, and then the person answers the door. I do that sometimes too. Woohoo! So no, don't do that. I'd request that you don't. But you just give them a big, huge wave. Person comes to the door. Good afternoon, sir. My name is Paul Duffy. Mr. Jones? Great, Mr. Jones. I'm with Renewal by Anderson. We just did some work. Actually, you might be familiar, from Mrs. Smith, right down the street on it's 124 Fairgrounds, right parallel to this. And I noticed walking up, you had the same windows as a couple of your neighbors I talked to. Looks like they were original. How long have you lived in the home? Okay, something like that. Well, I just moved in not that long ago. Congratulations, that's great. Where'd you move from? My voice is going. Where'd you move from? Yeah, just down the street. You know, our family home just down the street. We got married, moved in here about a year ago. Well, this is a great neighborhood, so I'm real glad that you found a great place for yourself. By the way, too, I don't know how familiar you are with the windows then, because you've only been here for a year. These look like they're original. Did you realize that? Did the home inspector point that out? Yeah, no, I mean they said the house is fine and stuff like that. Yeah, a lot of times the home inspectors see the reason why they don't find problems like this with the vinyl windows all the time is because the problem with vinyl windows is that they're built this way. You know, the problem is inherent in the material, so a home inspector might not pick out problems that are built in from the onset with vinyl windows. I did want to point out a couple things I did notice, though, Mr. Jones. The first thing I noticed was that you see these two holes at the bottom of every one of your windows. I don't know if you noticed that before. They'll probably say no. Typically, they'll say no. Okay, those are called weep holes, sir. They're meant to be the drainage system for vinyl windows like this. The problem is, if you see, sir, they're actually underneath where the material ends. Okay, so what that tells you is that the water is getting into the sill, all right, and it's going to get caught in those weep holes and extend to the frame of the house. Eventually, start to rot out the house. So, not saying that's happening yet, but you can see where the mold is starting to kind of burrow in those vinyl windows, sir. Okay. Now, another problem that a lot of your neighbors have talked about, sir, is that there's been some issues with drafts. To put your hands close to it gets real cold. What would you say is a bigger problem for you, sir? Is it pretty bad, or is it just when you put your hands close to the windows like that? I mean, I guess if I get close to the windows, but I don't know. I haven't really paid attention for it, looking for it. Yeah, sir. I mean, and you're still figuring the house out. You've been here for a year, so I totally get that. But it is fair to say that windows like these 15-year-old vinyl windows are going to start to have problems with drafts, usually at about 7 to 10 years, right? So another problem that a lot of homeowners in the area have talked about, sir, is that they become kind of difficult to open and close. Now, out of the whole house here, what would you say is giving you the biggest problem opening and closing? Now, they might say to you, I don't know, we have central air. I barely open the windows, right? That's a common thing to hear. Okay. All right, sir. Well, I just want to point out to it. A lot of times people don't realize it. Have you ever heard of oxidation in plastic or windows like this? They probably say no, or maybe they say yes, I've heard of it in plastic and whatnot. I'll point to their headlights sometimes. Like when your headlights start to wear down. The same thing happens to vinyl windows after just a couple of years, sir. So maybe something that you haven't noticed, especially if you haven't had vinyl windows before, but you see how these windows kind of lost their shine. They look almost like they're worn down. Looks kind of chalky, like white plastic lawn. It's going to happen over time. So it looks like you at least know you're going to have to do something with the windows over the next few years, sir. Steve, may I make a suggestion? Okay. So the difference there and what I'm saying is, so it looks, again, you're lowering their level of commitment. See, with that customer that I was just dealing with there, I didn't feel super confident that I got a ton of problems with windows out of them, right? I only got a couple. I had to sort of force feed them to the customer, tell them what problems they were having. Person's not in a bad mood, but they're not giving me a ton either. They're not exactly saying, oh my God, my windows are so bad, I need to change them right away, right? So I downsized their commitment. So it looks like you at least know, sir, you're eventually going to have to do something with your windows down the line. May I just make a suggestion for you? Now, a lot of people are going to say yes. A lot of people are going to say yes, right? They might give you a look. I got a look the other day that was real, I call it like a cute look. It was like, yeah, he turned his head at me. Yeah. All right, man. So I just gave him the suggestion. It was weird. I think he was trying to tell me, like, so a lot of times you'll get a look and a yeah or whatever. You might get you can, but I'm not going to do anything, right? That's a common thing that you hear. I see everybody, like a lot of people, not everybody, focusing on the negative when I work with them. The person will go, yeah, but I'm not going to do anything. And I'll hear the person that's working the door go, oh yeah, well, of course I didn't expect to catch you on the day that you're ready to replace the windows. And they think that they're being slick using a rebuttal and stuff like that. And I appreciate that you're trying to do things the right way. You basically heard and not interested, but you're focusing on the negative. And I would say that 9 times out of 10, for some people, not everybody, but for some people, 9 times out of 10, that's the biggest problem that they're experiencing. I do recognize that I say that about most problems, but a lot of times that's what they're experiencing. And you know what I'm talking about, right? You've seen this before, right? Where people go, they only focus on the negative. They're so ready for they're not interested, especially with people that just start, because they're like, I know the rebuttal's coming. I'm waiting for the rebuttal. Don't wait for it, man. It's a conversation. It's not meant to be a rebuttal. It's meant to be part of a longer conversation that you're having with the customer. So don't wait for that objection. Just move forward in a positive way. So the customer says something to me like, I mean, you can make your suggestion, but I'm definitely not going to do anything with the windows right now. I'll say, yeah, absolutely, sir. No, I definitely can understand. He only moved in a year ago, right? I agree with that. Yeah, of course. You only moved in a year ago. I get that. All I would like to do, though, sir, is just have one of our foremen come out just to make sure that we could even do what needs to be done here, sir. Find out what you like. And if look, if we can't be a service to you, sir, then we'll just recommend someone else who can. But if we could help you, then we show you the windows and how they're installed. And then if you like what you see, we'll take some measurements and leave you with a quote. So that way you at least know what can be done and how much it will cost. Now, so does that at least sound helpful to you? Okay. So first of all, you can see I'm emphasizing the parts of that value of the visit where we're just coming out to check the windows. You know, so again, and look for that, okay? The difference in emphasis, okay, and whatnot. The person says to me, yeah, yeah, you can make your suggestion, but I'm not going to do anything with the windows right now. Again, I agree with them, okay? No, yeah, of course, sir. I mean, you just moved into us, so I totally get that. All I would do, though, sir, is have one of our foremen come up just to simply see if we could even do what would need to be done here. They find out what you like. And if we can't be a service to you, so then we'll just recommend someone else who can. But if we could help you, then we'd show you our windows and how they're installed. And then if you like what you see, sir, we'll just simply take some measurements and leave you with the price. So that when you're ready, you'll know what can be done and how much it will cost. And does that at least sound helpful to you, sir? And again, I'm giving like does that at least sound helpful to you? And they can see it in the body language. It doesn't need to sound good. It doesn't need to sound great. It doesn't need to sound like fun. It just needs to sound helpful, right? Okay, just like that. Now, if the person said no, see, here's what I geared up for. Not often at all. I can't really remember the last time that happened, but very occasionally you'll get the person that will say no, just straight up no. No, it doesn't sound helpful, right? But I'm geared up to deal with that person in a great way. If that person just says straight up no to me, then all I need to say to them is, well, sir, you told me that your windows were drafty, hard to open and close, and not energy efficient. I would assume it at least sounds helpful. And then they're going to have to either respond with kind of an FU and shut the door, which is fine, by the way, too, because I'm doing things the right way. Or they're going to have to respond with, well, yeah, it'd be helpful, but I can't afford it right now. But I so and so forth. So I just need to check my fantasy lineup before this jerk beats me, which is probably going to happen anyways. 2 pitches going tonight, Jones. You better watch out. I should not talk shit because I'm probably just going to lose. Knock on wood here. Shane Bieber is going though, so that's good. But I think he's playing good batters. I can't remember who they're playing. I think the Dodgers. I'm not sure. Check it out. Anyways, so does that at least sound helpful, right? Does that at least sound helpful, sir? No. Okay, so you had told me that your windows are drafty, hard to open and close, not energy efficient. So I would assume that it at least sounds helpful. Well, it does, but I mean, I guess it would be helpful, but I'm not really interested right now. I wouldn't want to waste you guys' time, whatever their excuse is. Okay, we can deal with that. We can deal with that. We can't deal with just a no, right? So we're changing the objection. That's the key focus. And what we're doing in this part is we're changing the objection and we're making it make sense to them, no matter what the cost. Well, not no matter what the cost is, but you get my point. We're making it make sense to the customer. And as soon as it triggers in their head that it makes sense for them to do this, they're on it. They're going to do it. Okay. So remember the importance of that when you're dealing with the customers. Now, this is where you're going to get your more real objections. Okay. On this part right here, your goal should be every single house. Your goal should be to get down past the value of the visit. I can tell you right now that I would say fair guess, and Andrew's been with me before, and I think it's the same way for him a lot of times. I bet you, Andrew, that I get to, and I can't speak for you, but I've seen you pitch before. I think it's relatively the same. At least 85% of the time when I talk to someone that's applicable, has windows that are not brand new, down past the value of the visit. Would that be a fair assessment? Yeah, I think that's fair. Right. So what you notice then, if I'm out there knocking doors all day and I'm rendering doors and whatnot, I'm not going to have a house that's not interested in 1 minute. It's going to have to be at least I'm pretty quick when the person is short. Still, it's like 5 minutes there. Okay, it's like Andrews is like 45 minutes or something. But he gets a lot of leads, so it doesn't really matter. And that's the biggest thing is it doesn't matter if you're getting a lot of leads. If you're getting a lot of demos, it doesn't matter. But I would say that 4 or 5 minutes makes sense. Okay. So that's what you're going to see as a common trend there because I'm getting out everything that I need to get out. Yeah, and occasionally, again, about 15% of the time, maybe the person's just like, nope, nope, see you later, nope, and then I walk away, right? Or I get down to the phone windows and they decide that they're not interested or whatever. But 85% of the time, guys, if you're getting that far, 50% of the time, which should be a sure thing for you, you're going to get 3, 4, 5 leads a day. That's how you do it. The people that are having the highest level of success are getting down to that part. And then they're doing the right things. And if they do the right things a lot, then they're getting 7 leads a day or 10 leads a day or whatever, right? I think the record is fucking 13 now. I think it's 13 because mine was 11 and then someone beat Andrew Carney beat mine at one point. Yeah, 12 or 13. Yeah, 12 or 13. The record's probably 12. Beating it's probably 13, I think. So, I mean, if you were to go out there and look, we've had so many people at 8, 7. We had a ton of people at 7 since we've gotten back. So there's no doubt that we can do that. Again, maybe it's staying out for an extra hour, whatever. If you're that close, by the way, if you're that close and you want to stay out for an extra hour, I'll go pick you up personally at the end of the day. I don't care. You want to stay out for an extra 4 hours, trying to help censor myself as much as possible. An extra 4 hours, I'll go pick you up. Okay. Whatever you want to do in that case. Maybe not 4 hours. It'd be 11 o'clock at night. But you get the point. Or no, would it be? Yeah, it would be. Yep. 7 to 11. Yep. Okay. So the objections come now and they come in different ways. Now we all should know what we say if we get a basic not interested, a basic can't afford it. No matter what, by the way, at this point now, I still haven't used, I didn't expect to catch you on the day that you're ready to replace your windows. I didn't use it any part of the script yet. So that's still going to be my go-to unless they give me a specific situation. So in this case, they just tell me I'm not interested. No, look, I appreciate your time, but I'm not interested. Okay. I was going to say we just moved in, but I'm not interested, but that's giving me a more specific thing. So just, nope, not interested. Okay. Well, of course, sir, I didn't expect to catch you on the day that you were ready to replace your windows. Like you said, sir, you just moved in. Makes sense. But the goal of the visit is just to go over your options, answer your questions, and then leave you with a free price quote that's good for 1 full year. Now, sir, I just need to be, I have your last name here as Jones. What's your first? Okay. I have your last name here as Jones. What's your first? Right. Now, again, there's nothing different there than what you do probably, right? I would just point out that the transition is extremely clean. Okay. Of course, sir, I didn't expect to catch you on the day that you were ready to replace your windows, but we're really getting ahead of ourselves because the goal of our visit is just go over your options, answer your questions, and leave you with a quote good for 1 full year. And I have your last name as Jones. What's your first? Simple, and it's easy to keep control when you're transitions like that because they don't know the difference between script and rebuttals, right? They're just going with the flow at that point. They're in your world. You still have control. I've seen so many people, dude, so many people, and it's a problem. And I don't know how these people write leads at all. But luckily, it's not as many people now as it was before. But they just throw everything on the wall. Well, I didn't expect to catch you on the area replace your windows, but we have a lot of promotions that can help you out right now. Right now we're giving out buy one, get 40% off. And we also have a free quote that's good for a full year. So even if you don't want to do it now, then you at least have the information for when you're ready. And then, at some point in time, if you decide to do it that line, they're talking until the customer says no. That's what they're looking for. They want the customer to say no. So that way they can walk away. They're done with that situation. People that are doing that, they're done with it. They just don't stop talking until the customer says no, or it gets way too awkward and what. Okay, 1 second. Okay, sorry, I had a little bit of a personal problem. So that these guys are helping me with in here. So, um, ah, man, they're laughing. It's funny. Good times. So if you get down to more of a specific problem, it's really hard to help you with that in the sense of, I don't know, I'm not at the door with you. This is, I always have a tough time with, I don't have a tough time answering any rebuttals at all. And I'm going to have Jones throw a couple at me here in a second. Start thinking about some individual situations that you run into out there and stuff like that. Okay. But what's always hard in these situations, whenever we're in a training and I say, tell me, what do you run into? Is people take the worst of the worst customer they've ever dealt with and they replicate that in a way that they try to make it impossible for you to answer because it makes them feel better about their ego. And that's not what it's about. Now, I can still answer that. I'm extremely confident in my ability to still try to get over that objection and that excuse. Pretty much, unless it's get off my property, I can answer it. I can have an answer for it. But individual situations are individual situations, and there's sometimes that you're going to have to find the best way to deal with it at the time you're dealing with it. You have to be able to adapt. And the script can't handle every single thing for you. Sure, I'll write everything down for you. Absolutely. But then you got to promise me that you're going to learn the 75 pages of rebuttals, right? The 80 different ways to do it. If you're talking to a new homeowner, if you're talking to a person that's been there for a long time, if you're talking to, a married couple at the same time, if you're talking to, a dog, whatever, anything. I would not suggest the last one, but anything. You have solutions for it that are there. I can write them down for you. You're going to need to take the time to learn all of it then, because I'm not going to waste my time on that. You understand? Unless you're going to learn. But I'll go through the general premise and how we deal with those things. Okay. So I'm going to have Jones give me some objections. I'm going to repeat the objections into here just in case you can't hear them. And then I'm going to answer those objections. Okay. HVAC. I don't know anything about it. So, I forget to read the question. Say the question. Okay. So he said, I don't have any money right now because I just spent all my money on my HVAC system. Okay. Makes sense. Those are expensive things. Okay. Something that we commonly hear out there relatively, right? Okay. HVAC systems. So what did you have to do? Okay. So it's like, that makes sense. I'm sorry. I'm like illiterate when it comes to this stuff. So you mean like your air cooling system and stuff like that? Okay. How old was it? 30 years old. Wow. So that lasted for a long time at least. That's great. Yeah. Well, yes. So, I mean, when big projects like that come up, it's always tough because I'm sure that's not inexpensive, right? I haven't had to do it in my house yet, but I'm not looking forward to having to do it eventually. That's for sure. And that's obviously more important than windows, especially with summer coming up. So that's fine. All I'd say so that the goal of the visit is just to go over your options, answer any questions that you have. And the quote's good for a full year. So even if you decide not to do it now, you at least have the information for down the line. Now, a lot of times what would happen is he would follow up with what? A lot of times customers will say, because I say good for a year. What do you typically say? What would a customer say in that situation? Yep, that's a common thing right there. And a lot of people get stuck on it. He said, I'm not going to do it for at least a couple of years, 2 or 3 years now. Okay. And that's what I would say to the customer. No, for sure. I mean, absolutely, sir. That being said, the reason why it's best to go to quote now is because it gets you the information. So that way, when you're ready, eventually, you at least know whether or not to give us a call back. Okay. So that would be the first route that I go. I could go get that direction. Now, if he continues on, for example, then I could go with something like well, sir, I appreciate that. Being that we're in your neighborhood right now, like I said, we just finished up a job for Mrs. Jones. And also we're coming out to see Mrs. Smith right down the street here. It's important that we come visit people like you as well. Because right now we have these $500 gift cards. It's really great. So you don't actually have to spend any money at all. We have a $500 gift card that you can apply at any time to the windows. And again, the quote's locked in for the next year. So at least whether or not you want to do it at some point in time. Now, I had your last name as Jones. What's yours? Okay. So I could go for something like the $500 gift card, for example. Okay. Which I think is, by the way, is always great. And it's interesting because we just started doing that for chemistry, right? We never did that before. So they haven't heard it a million times before. And they don't have to buy anything at all right now. It's a $500 gift card, right? And the other thing that you did that was as soon as you were done, you went right back to, I realized it was first. I think a lot of times what people do Mhm.
is they'll say that it might be the greatest sounding rebuttal in the world
Yeah.
that they adapted specifically for this circumstance,
Mhm.
but then they wait to see what is the reaction.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They
Yeah.
just stick right there instead of just
Yeah.
moving to the next part.
Yeah, and you're right. And so what Andrew just said there makes perfect sense because I've seen a million people do this too. A lot of people do I get stuck in this sometimes. There's been times where I've been at the door and then I get from the door and I'm like, man, I didn't close that. You got to close the people after you're done. The key to that rebuttal or any rebuttal is I'm sorry, I was just going to say the rebuttal to myself. The key to end that rebuttal is I have your last name, Miss Jones. What's your first? Roll back into the script. There's only one way to do it, guys. Get the information. Okay. If they've already given you their last name, then roll back in a different way. Now, what was your phone number here, sir? Okay. Now I had your address as 123 Main Street. Is that correct? All right. Uh, roll back into a question like that. Okay. Get back into the script that way. What time of day works best for you? Would you say mornings or afternoons? Okay. Something like that. Get back into the script in that way. Don't wait to see what the customer's reaction is going to be. Okay. Now I'm sure there's other things that you can say there too. Person says next 2 or 3 years. Um, then here's another thing that you can say too. Yes, sir. And this is a great planning tool. That's what most people use it for. What we can actually, this maybe was one of my favorites. What we can actually do is we can come out and just assess your windows for you. Tell you which ones are giving you the biggest problems. Which ones could be making that HVAC system work a lot harder. And then the quote's good for a year, like I said. That way you at least have the information set aside, even if you're not ready yet. Now, I have your last name as Jones. What's your first? And the premise there is just, again, we'll just come out and check them. We'll tell you the worst couple. We'll tell you which ones are making the HVAC work the hardest. So again, it resonates because he just did the HVAC over. Wouldn't want that to work harder than it needs to, right? So that's another great way to put it. So three separate rebuttals that you could use there. Here's another one. I'm just going to give you another. Write down your favorite one. Here's another one. Okay. So first of all, whenever I need to process anything, okay, like he says that objection, I need a second to process. I shake my head, okay, for a second, and then I go, yeah, that makes sense, okay, in agreement with the customer, and then I go into my rebuttal. Yeah, that makes sense, And look, a lot of your neighbors, I mean, this time of year, sir, a lot of people have already gotten done what they needed to get done with their house, so that makes a lot of sense. And everybody has a list of things that they want to do, sir. So I'm not saying that the windows should even be on that list unless you want them to, of course. But eventually, you're going to have to replace them. This gives you the proper information to know if this company is going to be eventually the right company for you, with no pressure. Answer: we can check all the windows and tell you which ones are the worst. I had your last name, Miss Jones. What's your first? And so there's another thing too. Anything like that, anything that's not so basic and ridiculously just scripted. Now you might go, well, what, you're trashing your own rebuttal, stuff like that. No, I'm not. No. There's a difference between can't afford it and can't afford it because HVAC system, right? There's a difference between those two things. But all of those things would work. All of those things I just said that there would work. Why are they not written down? Because you're only going to hear HVAC system once every month or 2 months. You might now you'll hear other things, right? You can use those for other things, and maybe that's the key. Maybe I need to go on YouTube, watch myself, write down a couple things, play with a couple rebuttals, write them down, get us some new rebuttals, and that's fine. We'll do that, absolutely. But the solution to this, the biggest solution to this is to plug and play type of thing. If he didn't say HVAC, but he said get a new car, bang, same thing. I'm saying the same thing, right? I'm talking about the car. What happened to the car, sir? Nobody got in an accident, right? Everybody's all good. Okay, boom, right? Into the rebuttal. And remember how basic that first rebuttal was? It was just, oh yeah, HVAC system. Tell me a little bit about it. Yes, sir. Most people don't want to do this right now. Quote's good for 1 full year. That's it, right? Make sense? Now, even if you didn't do the second rebuttal, you're still going to book a certain amount of people because not everybody's going to tell you 2-3 years from now, but some people will, and that's an effective way to deal with it. What's another one?
I'm really busy. I just don't have any time. We got kids in sports. Really deal with that.
So he just is real too busy. Got kids in sports, no time to really deal with anything. Okay. So the first thing I would do there, oh, what sports do your kids play?
Baseball, softball, soccer.
Oh yeah, that sounds like a busy time of year, sir. They how old are they? Oh, so you got games all the time. No, yeah, that's really tough. I know that. I'm pretty familiar with that, sir. I can tell you that because of things like that, we've had to handcraft a schedule that fits in 7 days a week, mornings, afternoons, and evenings. So no matter what time works for you, we can definitely find that time. And I'm guessing that those games typically happen on the weekends.
Weeknight.
Okay, cool. Well, what time do you typically get out of work, sir? Okay, sounds good. Now, what day a week do they not have games?
Depends on the week. I mean, schedule changes every week.
Okay, well, they usually have the games on the weekends, I'm guessing, and the practices on the weeknights.
Some games during the week.
Do they? Yeah, I'm sorry. I have two little girls that don't play that. They do dance now, so yeah, I don't know exactly how that works, sir. Okay, Saturdays. What time do you typically get done with games?
Probably can start as early as 8 a.m. or,
Yeah.
1 or 2 p.m.
Okay, great, great. Well, we can definitely find a time then after that for you, sir. Okay. Now, let's say, for example, I roll through the calendar. Maybe I go to Sundays then. Well, I know, sir, a lot of times on Sundays, they'll typically end at a certain time, usually by early afternoon. What time do your kids end games on Sundays?
Usually early.
Okay.
They play not much they play on Sundays anyway.
Well, that's good. That's perfect. Then we can see at 2 or 3 what will work best. Okay. So going to a Sunday is not ideal, but if you got to do it, you got to do it. We don't have typically Saturday evening appointments. We don't do that. That's why I try to stay away from that. However, let's say there's literally no other time. This is a dangerous thing to say. I don't want to go there because then we'll get stuck getting Saturday evenings. But something can be done for every person when it comes to scheduling. Okay. If we needed to go to damn Zoom, then that's what we go to. You know what I'm saying? To remote visit. Obviously, not the ideal situation, not what we'd like to do, but we do it if we need to do it. Okay. The key is agree with the person, make it resonate with you. Okay. You don't have to be able to connect in every way. You could say something like, yeah, I played a lot of sports when I was a kid. I remember the schedule being pretty crazy. It doesn't need to be, I have kids too, this and that, or whatever. Right. That makes sense. Okay. All right. Give me something else.
Um, just, the other plan of,
I'll give you one. Well, I'll do it, but I'm going to give it to you. Okay. I just got married. Right. That's what we'll do because that's one that you hear sometimes. Or I just made X big commitment. I'm having a baby, stuff like that. Right. Okay. We'll go with married first. No, we just got married, had to spend a ton of money for the wedding. Right. Now you don't get it often, but you get things like it. Again, baby, whatever. I don't know. There's other big events that happen in people's lives too. Yeah. Yep. Kids go to school, whatever. Some sort of big event that needs to happen or just happen or whatever that was expensive. Well, congratulations first. That's great. Where did you do it? Where did you get married? Go ahead, answer.
um, got married in Florida.
Florida. So you traveled for the wedding. That's great. That's what I wish I did, sir. That's awesome. Do you bring all the family down there? Was it like a more private thing?
Yeah, it's like immediate family. Not like a huge wedding, but
That's great. Well, Florida's open now. So that's going to be real nice, sir, with the COVID stuff and whatnot. Well, no, congratulations, sir. That's awesome. And that's great. We definitely want to interfere with that. That being said, that's kind of why we do what we do, sir. And, our goal of our visit is just to go over your options, answer any questions that you might have. And the quote that we leave you is good for a full year. So that we don't have to do anything right now, but you at least have the information available for whenever we're ready. That being said, I had your last name as Jones, sir. What's your first? Okay. Now you might say something like, yeah, but it's going to be more than a year and stuff like that. And then again, I just go to the same go-to, absolutely. So this is a planning tool. Eventually by the way, too, I would have already asked the question, when did you move into the house? Right. And if I got an answer like, well, we actually just moved in because we just got married or something like that, then I would base it off of that. There's a lot that's going to have to go into this house, sir. Eventually, I know that it's a house that was built in the 1970s. Okay. But this is assuming that you told me not interested, don't have the money right now. This is just a planning tool to get you the information for when you're ready. Okay. Something like that. It's another way that you can go. Okay. So you see, no situation can't be dealt with, guys, but it's just about how you go forward with it, how you connect with the customer and how you communicate with them. It's even easier when you're out there because you're talking to an individual who doesn't know our script, doesn't know our system, doesn't know our intention. Okay. And obviously our intention is positive for sure, but they don't know our intention. And so you got to think of what goes through a customer's head. There's a lot of different things that go through a customer's head. What do they think right when you knock on their door? They think, who the hell's this guy at my door? Right? Then they go, no, 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 I don't want to buy windows. Right? For all they know, you're trying to sell it to them that day. Some people no doubt think that they're trying to get the appointment that day, right? People that say, no, no, I'm too busy, can't do this right now, whatever. Then they're going through that. They're going, wait, I remember that other door-to-door guy that came to our house that was selling magazines. No, 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 not doing this, not doing the door-to-door thing. Oh, actually, I remember when I signed up for that Target card and they called me 54,000 times. I can't do that again, right? Every sales experience they had is playing out in front of you. Their mentality is shifting. Your job is to shift that back the proper way, is to figure it out with them and to make it resonate for them. Okay. Now that's where most people are losing, but let's continue on a little bit. We talked about probably the large majority of problems now are dealt with through the things that we've just talked about. Okay. But if we're moving along, okay, there's still other problems that can come up. Some people are losing in the spouse part. Okay. Some people are losing when they're getting their spouse's information. Now, the first thing is, before the spouse part, if you hear the customer say something like, I have to talk to my wife, or I'd have to talk to my husband, the best thing that you can do is tell them that's a great idea. Thank you, that's a great idea. I'm actually really glad that you said that, because it's one of the only things that we ask is that when we come to visit to discuss the project, we meet with all the owners of the property. Okay, something like that. All right, that's a great way to get them involved in that. And again, guys, when you kill an excuse, when you take care of an excuse, it forces them to either one of three things: be done with you, be done with the excuse, or be done with the excuses. Okay, they'll either switch excuses or be done with the excuses, or they'll be done with you. Either way is a win for you, because you're ending a situation that would have taken you a longer period of time much earlier. Okay, or you're moving along in a situation in a positive way. All right, either way it works out for you. You'd rather be there for 5 minutes and lose than an hour and a half and lose. Right, so either way it's a win-win for you. Okay, now getting down to the spouse part in the 90 minutes. Look, if they give you a problem, nobody should lose on the 90 minutes. Nobody should. Okay. The 90 minutes is an easy thing to deal with, and the customer typically understands it as long as it's explained the right way. There's a couple key points that you need to make to the customer. I gotta get my hair cut. They just drive me crazy. I gotta cut it off myself. I keep saying that. It's gonna be gone. It's driving me nuts looking at it, dude. I feel like an Amish person that's been smoking crack. It's awful. It's just terrible. Sorry that you guys have to see this play out if you're watching this later, but it's really driving me nuts. I keep seeing pieces just start to, it seems like over time they just, you get them down, you get those down. Got my pink comb, right? All right, so you should never lose on 90 minutes. Why? Because it's all about a couple keywords. We will be respectful of your time. I promise you, we will be respectful of your time. We won't waste it. Okay. Those are the key words there. Okay. Pick out a couple parts of what we do. Look, we want to make sure that we fully inspect your windows in your home. Want to make sure that we provide you with the right service. And I promise you, we will be very respectful of your time. We will not waste it. Okay. Now, let's say that doesn't work. Okay. Let's say the person goes, it's one window. It's a door. Okay. It is acceptable to say, look, we do ask that you set aside at least 90 minutes. Like I said, whether we need it or not. That being said, I would say the same thing if you had 30 windows. We just want to make sure that we provide you with the proper service. And I promise you will be very respectful of your time. Okay. And you're telling them still at least 90 minutes, whether we need it or not. But I'd say the same thing if you had 30 windows. Okay. I promise you will be extremely respectful of your time. Okay. You can kick us out if you need to. Right. Make a joke out of it, something like that. Okay. Nobody should ever lose on the 90 minutes. The only time I lose on the 90 minutes, I'd say once in a long, long while, is because the customer's looking for a reason to get me out of there anyways, right? And they're using that as a reason too, okay? But when that's happening, and so you deal with that as best as you can. It happens. I mean, again, every, 100 sets, I'm just throwing numbers out there. I do that every time. I don't know. I don't track that. Who keeps track of that? But I'm sure someone does. We got to find that guy. I don't know, but it's not a significant amount of people. The second party part, similarly, you should not lose on that often. Okay, occasionally you have to, because you cannot set up one parties. And I've seen too many one parties. They cancel, guys. They cancel. The call center goes after them. They don't always find them, but they cancel. And I swear to God, I will start going through every lead to see if it's a one party, and I will take them all out of the system or something, because we cannot do what our close rate drops because of that. Now I'm going to go through and do a one party port. One party sounds kind of weird. A one party report over the last month. At the end of this month, we're going to check it out. We're going to go over it. There are people straight up telling the customer that they just need to speak with the homeowners. Is there anybody else here that owns a home? Is there anybody on the deed? I've heard that. I've heard would there be any other decision makers here? I've heard people say, no, my husband's not going to be home for 2 weeks. He's away on business. Oh, okay, ma'am. All right, it should be fine then. Okay. I've heard it all. None of that stuff is okay. The second party needs to be there. It is theft for you to set an appointment without that there. You know what you're doing wrong. It sets bad precedent. It's not the right thing to do. You're putting a sales rep in a bad situation, and the whole large majority of these one parties can be two party appointments. It's most of them can. Be better at your job. That's all I can say about one parties is be better at your job. You know what you need to do. You know what we train people to do. You know what our standard is as a company. If you are accepting one parties, it's because you're not strong enough on your script. You're not strong enough on your system. That's the only reason why you're accepting one party. So you need to be better at your job. That's the only solution there. Okay, now. And this is the last part of scripting that we're going to go over. When it comes to that part, if you get objections from the customers, usually it's going to be a no, it's going to be tough on time, stuff like that. Promise them we can find a time for it. Look, I promise you, man, I've dealt with the craziest of schedules, and I'm sure that we can find a time for the both of you. Okay. Do you have a written schedule? Okay. Can you grab a schedule? All right. Ask them that question. You're at their house. You're setting the appointment at yourself. Ask them to grab a schedule. Okay. Before you do that, even just go into some times, right? Give them an option. Okay. Now you said you get off work typically at 6 o'clock. You said, what time does your husband get home? Okay. What time does your wife get home? Right. Try to dig in that way. Now, occasionally there's the people that just flat out refuse to have their spouse there for whatever reason. Okay. We have written rebuttals for that. The bottom line is you don't want to tell the customer, these are our rules. You want to imply that this is what we need, not tell them these are our rules. Rules don't sound good to a customer. Okay. Policy is not a good word to use with customers. Okay. Look, Mr. Jones, I appreciate that. The reason why we asked to have both homeowners, or the reason why we require to have both homeowners home for the appointment, is because typically what we find is we have to come out to answer questions for a second time, which takes more of our time and more of your time. But I can assure you, we can find a time for you, and we'll be very, very respectful of your time. It's as simple as that. Okay. You got to press on it. Most of the time, you're going to be able to set them. Every once in a while, guys, you got to give the lead up. Every once in a while, you got to give the lead up. Okay. All right. As you can probably see, I'm getting tired now. I am getting tired. And so I'm getting very tired. I don't know what's going on with me. Falling apart a bit. We're gonna this next week is gonna be a grueling week for dealing with issues and making sure that everybody's happy and in the right place and doing well. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be fantastic. A great way to start the month, guys, is to deal with any outstanding issues that we have. Let's just get them out of the way, guys. Let's fix them together, right? It takes a level of motivation. It takes a level of fight to do this job. We all know this, okay? We're in the grind, and we're in the grind, and we are doing such a great job. There's no department has ever accomplished what you guys have, and ever. I don't care what company it is. This company is the best of the best. The reason why I'm still after 12 years. You get experience. There's a reason why you get experience at this company. In other companies, they either hate you or they love you. They look at you as a celebrity because of what you're able to do, okay, in this job. What you're doing now has never been done before, never in the history of Renewal by Anderson. We have never had such an efficient crew that we have guys getting 99 or 100 leads in a month, 60 leads, 70 leads, 80 leads, like bang, 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 bang. Everyone, our person whose numbers are at their worst is at like 10 appointments and they just started doing it. They've been off for like 5 days this week or this month. 5 days this week. That'd be a normal week. So guys, you're doing a great job. Keep it up, okay? When we deal with issues, be mature about it. You got to be mature when you're dealing with with adversity, with criticism, okay? You got to be mature about it. You have to understand that our job is just to make you better, okay? And our job is to collectively win, collectively beat other departments, beat other companies, win, to make it so that everybody's making money. That's our job. That's what we do. You know, and so it's not meant to be oh, let's target this person, or let's come down on this person, or this person's doing a bad job. It's not about that. It's not about that. Even if every person was averaging 10 leads a day, we would still need to find ways to become better at what we do, because if not, we would get bored. And as we add new people in, we want to make sure that what we do is pristine and that we're teaching people the right way. And we need your help doing that. So I appreciate it.